Hello everyone and welcome back to Jacqs and thanks for joining me today. In this video I will be showing you how to create the stacked envelopes. So let's get started. In this tutorial I will be using the Mother's Day collection by Country Craft Creations, and you'll also need an envelope punch board, or you could use a scoreboard to create the envelopes as well. So whatever mechanism that you have to create envelopes, that's what you're going to need. So one of the first things that I did was go through the paper collection, and I pulled out some of the papers that I wanted to use. I also went through and actually made a little template of all of the envelope sizes that I wanted to use. Now this isn't one of them because I decided not to use it, but what I did decide to use, I have here, and I have attached them to the paper that I'm going to be cutting out this pattern on. And I've kind of done that for all of them. Now, because I was using all of one collection, I wanted to have something to break up the collection. So I chose this paper, and it is from the haberdashery paper pad from the Paper Studio at Hobby Lobby. And I thought that would be a really great complement to this collection with the pink glitter and the roses, or at least the floral that seemed to match this one. So that's why I chose that one. And then again, I continued to go through it. Now, when I was trying to decide which paper to use, I would take my template and I would go around on the paper, and I put a little arrow on it so I knew which side was the right side for the envelope to be upwards, so that when I laid it down, I knew that this, because of my arrow, would be the flap of my envelope. So I was paying attention to that because I wanted to have nice decorative flaps to go along with the project. And so that's kind of how I figured out which patterns that I wanted to use with each of the templates. So another non-Mother's Day paper that I used was this My Colors cardstock, and I believe that Country Craft Creations carries this cardstock as well. And if not this exact one, she'll have others of this same color. This is from the premium cardstock, and it is pink carnation. So otherwise, I have used Country Craft Creations Mother's Day collection, other than those two pieces. Now that I know what pattern I'm using and where I'm going to be cutting out on the paper, it's time for me to go ahead and cut the paper down to the envelope template. I'm going to be using the envelope punch board, and I'm going to do that offline and come back once I have that done. So I will have all of the measurements listed down below in the description box, or if I have time, I'll do a project sheet for you so that you can go ahead and cut all those down. I'm not going to provide those during this video because I'll have them listed down below for you. Okay, I'll be right back. So I've cut out all of my pieces, and then I use the punch board to get them into the envelope shape. And then I even used my We Are Memory Keepers corner jumper to do the corners because my punch wasn't working. And I used the 1/2 inch on all of them. And once I did that, I went through each one and decided, since these were double-sided papers, which side that I wanted. And when I was doing that, I would kind of stack them along the way to see, okay, which way does this look better? Because I might have started out this direction, and then when I layered on the rest, I'm thinking, oh, that's 2 in a row that's pale. So then I would turn it on the other side. And that makes a world of difference. So even though you have a plan when you first start out, see that the brightness really picks up then and blends in with the next one that is all pink and bright. So even when you get them all punched out and everything, just play around with them, see which side you like better. I would highly recommend using double-sided paper so that you can have that option of deciding which side to use. And even when you don't have double-sided paper, like the haberdashery was only printed on one side and then the other side was craft. So what I did was I just added some more of the decorative paper on the other sides so that I would have that pattern to add some contrast here when adding the envelope on top. So I'm just trying to give you some options and some thought process of how I go through this. Now, the next thing I thought we might do is a little mixed media play. So what I have is my Dollar Tree little canister here of water. I have these Daler Rowney Pearlescence liquid acrylics. I thought these might be fun to play with. And I even have some gesso here that I thought would be fun to do. So let me get that set up and I'll be back. So I've used Vintage Photo to go around the entire envelope and give it some distress ink on all of these. And then I thought we would kind of work with our gesso here. And I'm really just wanting to kind of make little splats on everything. This is so nice. It's that pearlized and it's really pretty. Now I have the Tim Holtz splatter brush, but I didn't bring out my little box to do splatters. So I'm going to try to just use a paintbrush here. I'm adding water to everything to make it really watery. And then we're just going to do some little splats there. And I'm adding more water to the gesso and doing the same thing there as well. Oh yeah, look at that. That's pretty. So I think that is good right there. I'm going to leave that one to dry. So I thought I would do this tonight and then come back tomorrow to finish up the project. I'm loving that. How fun is this? I think I should have brought out my splatter box that I use. I actually created my own splatter box. Here's my next one. So we have the bottom one. This one will have it on there. And then this one, I was just trying to see if I want to do it on all of them, but I guess I will. Okay. That is all I'm going to do. Okay, the envelopes are all dry, and here is what they look like. I think they turned out really good. Now, you have to remember that when you're doing these, the top flap is going to get glued to the bottom of the envelope above it. So really, you're only going to see this part. But sometimes, depending on the size of your envelope, you know, and how you place it, you might get to see some of the splashes on the flap below it. So that's why I went ahead and just did the whole area. And then you could have also done it on the inside here if you wanted to, but I didn't want to go too overboard with the little splats and splatters. And then on this one, just a little bit. We didn't do a lot of white on this one. So another thing I want to do is use these Cinnabar metallic flakes. This is the vintage kind, and it has copper and gold in it. And I tried a little piece here. What I did was I actually just used art glitter glue, put that there, and then put my gold flake over it. And it worked out really good, and I kind of like it right here on the edge of this flap where it folds up. I don't know, I kind of like that. But it was a little difficult to do because my flap isn't glued down yet, because I want to go and sew all around, you know, these little flap areas that are going to be seen, and probably here too. I might just do the outsides of all of these. We'll have to see. But that is what I'm wanting to do before we start using the metal flakes. And then another thing I'm going to do for this one, since it's just plain pink on the inside, I thought it would be fun to make this part a shaker and then probably add some embellishments or something on top of that. So I'm going to just sew on some tulle, add my shaker bits inside, and then sew that closed. I'll show you that after I'm done sewing, but I won't be filming the sewing. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is go and do all the sewing, and I'll be back, and then we'll do some more play with the metallic flakes. Okay, I am back and everything is sewed. Now on this first small one, I tried sewing all of the flaps and the sides, and here and there, and I didn't really care for that. So then afterward, I just sewed the flaps on the one side. I didn't sew where the fold was. See the difference? And I just like it better. This just seems too much to me. But when I got to the shaker, which I'm loving, I had to stitch across. So I did go ahead on all of these and then stitch the entire panel so that it would match this one. And then it kind of, you know, blends this in a little bit more as well, for those that are really looking at the detail. So these are all good to go now, and I was kind of playing around with how I wanted them to be staggered. But at this point, what I want to do is start playing around with some of the metallic flakes. Now, I think I'm just using gold. I didn't really see too many copper undertones that I could use this with. Even with the craft here, I just don't think that goes. I think the gold is a better option. Oh my gosh, I'm getting flakes everywhere. So how I did this is I just took my little glue bottle here, and this is art glitter glue. I put my little paintbrush in there, and I was kind of just brushing it on, making it real light, and then getting my gold and adding that to it. And I want it to be a bit scruffy. I don't want it to be perfect. And then we brush it off, get any loose pieces off there. And then we have that. Yeah, I really like that. And I really only want to put just a few gold pieces down on each one, because I don't really know where I'm going to be putting all my other embellishments. So I don't want to go overboard with putting too much on, because, you know, it might be a waste by the time I get my embellishments on there. So we're just going to do a little bit. And as this glue dries on the brush, it makes it a little bit more tacky, so it works out better. So here's that for right now. I think that's good. You know, we could even do it on the inside if we wanted on some of them. Here's the next one. Now this has a lot going on. So maybe we'll just do some on the inside or something. And because it has that gold, the glitter, and I do hope that that is pink and not red, but that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, I kind of like just that little snippet there. Maybe we could do some down here as well. But I did just realize it's close to the glitter, but I guess that's okay. You know, we're just doing trial and error here, and it'll all work out in the wash. I love how you can just use bits and pieces, you know? It doesn't have to be a perfect piece that you're using every time. Yeah. Okay. And then we don't even have to do every single one if we don't want to. So we could skip this one. I'm definitely, oh, I did put some on this one already. So let's go ahead and add some to this one. Okay, so you guys get the hang of it. This is so fun to play with, I must say. If you haven't tried it, I would definitely recommend it. And on this one, I think I'll pass on that one as well. So I've passed on 2. And then let's put some on this bigger one because it didn't get a whole lot of white splatters. Well, I guess I'll just put a little bit of copper on that one because it came out with the gold. I kind of forgot that my envelope would be on here, so that's kind of wasted. Did I do that on others? No. So I should be okay on those. You kind of forget what you're doing after you get started. So that's why I added it up there at the corner. Maybe I'll do that here too. Maybe put a little copper in there just to match that side. There we go. Yeah, just a little bit to match that. Okay. Okay, yeah, that's all I really wanted, was just a little bit of that on there. So I'm going to clean this up and I'll be back. So my camera got a little crooked there. I'm sorry about that. Now the next thing that we want to do is seal up our envelopes. So I'm going to do one, and then I'll probably do the rest offline. Okay. All right, so that's what I'll be doing next, and I'll be back. We left off where I sealed all the envelopes and they were ready to be adhered together. Now the way you do this is you figure out, how you want your envelopes to be stacked, and I'm going to stagger them and kind of make them a little bit wonky. I don't want them to be just straight on top of each other like this. That's not fun. And I even have changed my mind with where I want the placement of this particular envelope. Before, I wanted it to be on the top, but there was something about it that I wasn't liking, and it's a very strong color compared to the rest of the envelope. So I've decided to tuck it underneath this third largest envelope, and that way it will be like a pop of color, just like the pink is. And I'm really liking that idea much better. So I have made that change. But let's go through and kind of figure out the stacking order and location for all of these. One of the important things to remember when stacking your envelopes and adhering them down is that the top envelope cannot go beyond the envelope underneath it. So you can't have this one sticking out over the bottom one. If you do, when somebody goes to open this, they'll run into the table or whatever they have it on. So you must have it below the edge of the envelope underneath it. That way when you open it, it opens smoothly and there's nothing interfering with it. So I'm going to have this one, let's see, just going to kind of play around with them and seeing which direction I want them all to go in. And then I could have this one here or over here. Oh, how about that? I'm kind of liking that better. I moved this one over more toward the right-hand side. Yeah. Okay. So now that we have them where we want them, there are two methods that you could use to adhere these down. You can use adhesive tape or just wet glue, or you could use foam adhesive, and then that would give it a little bit of a rise from the envelope beneath it. I thought about doing that, but I think I had changed my mind. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, another thing is you may want to tuck things underneath the envelope. So I wouldn't adhere it all the way edge to edge to the bottom piece either. So here I just did a little bit. You have room to tuck things under there if you wanted. And so see, when you lift this envelope, the lid opens up to the next one. So I did this to where we could see that. Okay. Now I need to get these lined up properly. And if they kind of go over the edge of the bottom envelope, it's okay. If that's how you want it, you could spread this out to be as wide or as, you know, long as you want. Just be careful of the edge. That's really the main thing. And once you glue it down a little bit, you can always go back and glue more of it down. There. So this one lifts and this one lifts. So fun. Okay. Okay, so see, everything is attached. And we have one more. So there we have it. All of our envelopes are attached. Oh, it's kind of neat that it goes that direction and then it pops back the other way. Let's see, let's try this again. This goes this way, flip that way. Something is happening here. I see. So when you open this one, these envelopes come back here and hit that. So there's a little catch, but then it just goes ahead and opens. So that's another thing to be careful about. Now I probably could undo this and fix that. Okay, so I have fixed that issue that I had, and we now have them all attached. And it's working perfectly. Now I did find a little hole in my tool. Well, I know there's holes in tools, but a bigger hole than normal. So I added a little flower that I cut out of the collection, Mother's Day collection, and added this Blessed Life here. I liked it because it has little stitching on it and it kind of just matched what was there. So that was fun. So at this point, I would say we are good to go for decorating.